As the Omega Tournament heats up and enters the second round, Hero will be forced to battle Hero. But is winning worth it if it will cost you your soul along the way? Well, let's hop into the pages of DCKO Superman vs. Captain Atom issue number 1 and find out what happens next together, shall we? Alrighty then, so before we start the review proper, I was on comic TikTok this week, I know, sue me. And unlike over here on YouTube in my comments section, I realized very quickly that a lot of people had big problems with how the first round of the DCKO tournament actually happened. Mainly that despite the big sales pitch of this story being a straight-up tournament arc complete with brackets, it all kinda didn't really matter. Didn't bother me at all. Maybe after a lifetime of being a professional wrestling fan, I'm inoculated to this kind of bullshit booking. I mean, come on, this is theater, not sport. The points don't matter and the rules are made up because everyone already knows who's gonna win anyway. I only bring this up because round 2, which will be focused on in a series of different tie-ins over the next couple months, looks to be much more in line to what people were probably envisioning the Omega Tournament to be. The first of these super bouts is going to be Captain Atom versus Superman in a best-of-3 grudge match. I say grudge match because Superman is actually pretty pissed at Captain Atom for eliminating his cousin Kara from the tournament early on. It's here that this story actually offers up some really damn interesting characterization for Captain Atom, a character who doesn't regularly get it. For starters, he doesn't feel bad about knocking Supergirl out of the tournament, saying that the only way the good guys are gonna win and beat the villains this time around is if they're willing to go that extra mile and do what is necessary, even when what's necessary isn't particularly nice. In fact, Adam says that Superman isn't cut out for this kind of scenario, that his good heart will always make him want everyone to win even when that is an impossibility, which in turn makes him a real liability to winning this tournament and saving the world. We also get a lot of time to actually just kind of sit in Captain Atom's head and hear his thoughts, how for a long time he feels like he's had no agency in his life. All of this amazing power, all of this amazing potential, yet he can never seem to get the job done when it counts, normally blowing up, and then getting lost in both the literal and metaphorical shuffle. Wow, I don't think I have ever seen a character so acutely aware of their own publication history before. It's for all these reasons and more, Captain Atom wants to put on a good showing and comes out absolutely swinging as he and Superman are forced to do battle. Inside Metropolis, Superman's mind is elsewhere, fearing that this is the real Metropolis and that people could very well be hurt. In the ensuing clash, Captain Atom gets the upper hand right away by draining Superman's solar energy away from the very atoms in his cells before following that up with a 1-2 punch of red and green kryptonite, meaning that round 1 of this battle goes very decisively to the Captain. Now at round 2, the sentient heart of Apocalypse really ends up shaking up the format. Heroes are allowed to come back in, but they are also allowed to change their form to match any they've had across their very long DC histories. It's like changing your build in a video game. Both Superman and Captain Atom decide to pull out their absolutely biggest guns ever for this round, pulling upon pasts and futures that technically don't exist anymore. For Captain Atom, he chooses to take the guise of Monarch, his villainous alter ego from Armageddon 2001. This guy can basically do everything Captain Atom can already do, plus he can manipulate time. Superman is no slouch though, choosing to pull out Superman Prime, aka Superman 1,000,000, a golden god form from a far distant future that actually is very familiar and dovetails very nicely with the golden Superman we're seeing in Dan Slott's Superman stories. Now, while that all is incredibly cool on its face, I'm happy to say this book is a lot more than just a punch-em-up. You see, Superman actually begins to fear Captain Atom's rabid obsession with winning, especially after Nathaniel essentially gives to him the same speech word for word that Luthor did back in DCKO 2. How maybe Superman shouldn't win this tournament and get the chance to reshape the world because he is ultimately at the end of the day a agent of stagnation, a defender of the status quo who will only put the world back exactly like it is now, problems and all. Morality and ideology aside for a second there, Superman Prime ends up winning this battle handedly by using a massive blast of freeze breath to completely shut off the sun. No sun means no heat, which means quantum atoms slow down. This means that not only did Superman win round 2, but he did it without having to actually throw a punch at Captain Atom, who, as you might have guessed, really ends up taking this loss to heart, so much to the point that he decides for round 3 he's just straight up gonna cheat. I mean, after all, that's what Darkseid would do, right? And the Heart of Apocalypse has said time and time again the only way to win this contest is to become more like the Lord of Apocalypse. Captain Atom decides to make use of all of his different forms from across history simultaneously, and a part of me has to think to myself, man, I bet they really wanted him to become Dr. Manhattan for a minute. Because technically speaking, if we wanted to split some hairs, Dr. Manhattan is arguably just a derivative of Captain Atom. What's Superman's strategy for fighting back? Well, instead of calling up a more powerful version of himself, he instead decides to stand his ground and do this battle as original recipe vanilla Superman. Partly because winning the moral victory and showing that Superman can win the tournament without succumbing to his darker nature doing the heart's bidding. And also because, hey, let's face it, original recipe baseline Superman is arguably the most powerful character in fiction anyway. To Captain Atom's credit, he really does end up putting up one hell of a fight, dragging him and Superman to the white spaces of the comic before literally weaponizing his own history by throwing flashback comic panels at Superman. Even though in doing so, Nathaniel is quite literally destroying his own long history just for the chance to win. And for a second there, it looks like this crazy gamble might actually have paid off, only Superman is not nearly as dead as he seems. In fact, he has only transformed as a brand new Atom Superman. How is that possible? Did Superman maybe always have that power within him, or is this the Heart of Apocalypse choosing to punish the Atom for cheating much in the same way it punished Batman for doing the same thing? That's open to interpretation. Either way, it's so friggin' cool. Superman decides to use this newfound form and power to completely turn Captain Atom's own previous strategy against him, draining all the energy from him at an atomical level, before finally moving on in for the final blow. If nothing else, in his last minutes, Nathaniel does seem to return to himself by realizing that the battle really truly is lost, and that anything else he would do, like rewinding time to the beginning of the round or exploding his suit and escaping the arena, would only be prolonging the inevitable at this point. Superman not only won the battle, but he won the moral victory. He stuck to his guns and didn't succumb to anger or Omega Mania to do it. A win's a win, but at the same time, it still doesn't feel good. If this is what the tournament could do to Captain Atom, God only knows what it's going to do to the other combatants. Then, of course, there's still the big gnawing problem of Darkseid himself, who is revealed to actually be Booster Gold in disguise. He has yet to join the tournament, but he certainly plans to, meaning that sooner or later, in wrestling terms, he's gonna do a run-in and ruin it for everybody. And so that was DCKO Superman vs. the Atom issue number 1, everyone, and I gotta say, I was really pleasantly surprised by this issue. I've said it once, but it bears repeating, I really appreciate how Williamson and Snyder have really gone out of their way to make sure that this series doesn't devolve into pure-on power-scaling fan wankery. I mean, fans are gonna make it into that anyway, because every character is someone's favorite, and nerds love to argue about things and who should really win. But thankfully, this event and very much this story is about so much more than that. I actually really appreciate the characterization that Captain Atom is given. Mainly, he knows full well how poorly he's been treated in other stories and sees a win in this tournament as a chance to finally turn things around for him. Unfortunately, it's that very same idea that the Heart of Apocalypse ends up corrupting, to turn him into the worst version of himself. Again, the fact that the alternate identity he chose to use was a villain was both a great tactical choice and a very solid storytelling choice. Williamson is also doing great work too, continuing to build on what he's been doing with Superman over in the main book for such a long time now. Mainly by giving Superman an actual moral conundrum to wrestle with in this tournament. What's stopping him from just becoming Golden Age Superman and stomping over everyone? Well, he could. But if he did that, he would be playing like Darkseid, and the Heart of Apocalypse would end up winning. So not only does that mean that Clark needs to continue to fight smart, but he also needs to fight without tying his own integrity behind his back, which is going to be hard. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one an 8.5 out of 10, and I hope all the other tie-in matchups continue to be this interesting and this creative moving forward. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Jewel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Jewel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.